Hi, it's Willow with C&J Nutrition, and today I'm going to do a baked fry tutorial. If you follow us on Instagram, you know that we're pretty addicted to baked fries, make them probably a couple times a week, and lately I've been having a lot of questions about how we make them, what our technique is to get them crispy on the outside but soft on the inside. So I've been taking notes the last couple of months every time I make them to note any kind of tips and tricks I use at home. So let's get going. The first sort of tip I have is to choose a potato that's the right size. So if you're using a russet potato, you want one that's long so you can get those really nice fry shapes. But other types of potatoes work, and actually red potatoes or yellow potatoes are probably my favorite just in terms of their texture. They're a little bit more buttery inside. And sweet potatoes work too, but I'll tell you the modification to make for sweet potatoes as we get going. So the first step is to take your potatoes, cut them into even 1/4-inch pieces. Emphasis on even because if they're uneven, they'll bake at different times and you'll end up with burned or undercooked pieces of fries. You can also get really crispy outside, soft inside with that 1/4-inch. If you go bigger than that, they'll be more like steak fries and they won't get as crispy. Now I've gotten all of our potato sticks made, so they should be about 1/4-inch by 1/4-inch square rectangle, long rectangles. And then you'll have little pieces that were the ends that'll be thinner. Those are the ones that you want to watch in the oven and take out a little earlier. So let's transfer these to a baking sheet. I've lined this baking sheet with parchment. You don't have to do that. I did it today just for easy cleanup for the video. Now that they're on the baking sheet, we're going to toss them with some olive oil. I use about 1 teaspoon of olive oil per medium-sized potato. Since this was on a little larger, I might use 1.5 teaspoons. I typically don't go above 2 teaspoons because if you use too much oil, they tend to get soggy, which is definitely something that I've experimented with, thinking that a little bit more oil might make them, a little bit more like fried fries. Not the case. Put your olive oil on, or whatever oil you're using, and then this is where you can put salt and pepper. I like doing salt and pepper fries, but if you just want salt, that's fine. If you don't want anything, that's okay too. If you're using any other spices or herbs, I would add those later, like either add those in the last minute of cooking or take them out, toss them with those before serving because those tend to burn. Salt and pepper you'll be fine with. Just coat those so each piece of potato is evenly coated with a really thin layer of oil. I like cooking them with the skins on because I like the texture and the flavor of potato skins, but you can always peel them too if you like it. It adds a little bit of nutrition too. Okay, so the other tip is that when you lay them out on the pan to bake, you don't want any of them to be touching because if they're overlapping, they'll get soggy when you bake them. You can leave about a 1/4-inch in between. It doesn't have to be a lot of space as long as they're not touching. Okay, there's all laid out on the pan and we're gonna transfer them to a 425-degree oven. You wanna make sure your oven is nice and hot when you put them in because you wanna get that crisp outside. Some recipes call for a higher temperature. I like 425. It makes them nice and soft on the inside without burning on the outside. So initially we're gonna bake these for 15 minutes and that I found gives them a nice brown caramelization on the outside and gives us some leeway in terms of rotating them and getting them nice and crispy. So into the oven, 425, 15 minutes. I will return with them then. Okay, so these are out of the oven. They've been in there for an initial 15 minutes, and I'm just gonna flip them one turn so each side gets a chance to kind of touch the pan as it cooks, which helps them brown. So back in for 10 minutes. They're back and they're even more golden, so now I'm gonna do flip 2 and then put them back in the oven. Okay, so these are out of the oven after the second flip. So they've been in there for 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, so about 35 minutes total. To be honest, if I had cut them all about this size, they would be done. But some of them it was a big potato and some of them are a little thicker, so I need to put them in for one more round. But I am gonna take out the ones that are starting to get really brown and look like they're done, which is all the smaller ones. I'm gonna take those and put those aside for now because I want to be able to eat them and they'll get really burned if I keep them in. And then the rest of them can go in for another 10 minutes and then they're gonna be perfect. So you can see they're getting like really nice and crispy on the outside, and the ones that are done are really crispy and pretty perfect. So these are gonna go in for 10 more minutes and then they'll be ready to serve. They're done. They're nice and golden. They're crispy on the outside, soft on the inside. I would say add the ones that you previously took out to these, except I ate them while I was waiting for these to cook, so we don't have them anymore. Again, these took about 40 minutes to make. I would say typically 30 to 40 minutes is probably what you should estimate, unless you cut them really thin, then sometimes they only take 20 to 25 minutes. But they're done, so if you want to add additional spices like curry powder or some herbs, you can do that now and it'll stick to the oil, but just don't do it any sooner because they'll burn. And that's it. Serve them with your favorite sauce and you've got crispy but tender oven fries. This is Willow with C&J Nutrition. See you next time.